Today, I'm talking about something that you are going to hear that I'm very passionate about when it comes to video games and when it comes to Nintendo Switch and what I'm looking forward to. And that is the game with a very weird name, but a lot of heart, soul, and passion. And that is Project Triangle Strategy from Square Enix. So this is a working title, okay? And there is a free demo that you can go download, and I highly suggest to all of my RPG playing fans, to everybody who liked old school tactics games, Fire Emblem, when it comes to old school style of games, all of that stuff. If you like Bravely Default, if you like the old school Final Fantasy games, I suggest going and downloading this demo and giving it a shot. This game is phenomenal, and it has the opportunity to actually be the best Team Asano game in the modern era when they started doing Bravely Default or Bravely Second End Layer. We have Octopath Traveler. We also have Bravely Default 2. Out of all of the games that I've played every single one of them from this secondary team tier of Square Enix with these games over the years, and this has the most, honestly, the most potential to be the best one. Better than Octopath, better than what we're even getting maybe with Bravely Default 2. I mean, there is a lot to like in this game. There is a lot to like, but I wanted to go over the game first and foremost, and then we'll talk about my playtime with it and what makes it, to me, maybe even on the level of a Fire Emblem. Maybe you can even surpass it. This could be one of the best RPGs that I've played, and I'm trying not to overhype too much because it's early and they still need to work on things, but there is a lot of potential with this one. Hasn't realized it yet because obviously the game isn't out, but there is a ton of potential with this game. So let's talk about it because they have borrowed some cues from, from Fire Emblem here and there. So 3 nations battle for control of the dwindling resources of salt and iron. Command a group of warriors, Zernoa, heir of the House Wolford, and a tangled plot where your decisions make all the difference. Key choices you make will bolster one of 3 convictions: unity, morality, liberty, which together make up Sonora's worldview and influence how the story will unfold. When faced with truly monumentous decisions, multiple characters will weigh in by casting their votes on the scales of conviction. In these moments, the allies and decisions you make can determine the fate of the whole nations and the continent of Norzelia itself. Now, you control multi-tiered battlefields to strategically secure victory. Finding the best location in turn-based battles can tip the tide of combat in your favor. Position units on higher ground to take control of the battlefield and gain the advantage with increased range. You can also flank enemies on both sides, then strike from behind for a powerful blow follow-up attack. Elemental chain reactions are also an important part of combat. For example, use fire to melt an icy terrain, then use lightning to electrocute it. Push the enemy into electrified water to see sparks fly. So that last bit there is some of the potential that I talk about when it comes to the gameplay that's multi-tiered, it's multifaceted. Not only do you have the range that they're talking about, having the high ground and low ground, but then you also have the multiple aspects that you'd see in a strategy RPG. Okay, well, can you flank? Can you go from behind and get critical hit damage? Can you do these different things? And it combines a lot of those elements. Follow-up attacks, stuff that we saw, like for example in Fire Emblem Awakening, or pairing up with units, but not officially pairing up in this one, but having a unit close by and you do an attack, then they do a follow-up attack with it. So you can already kind of get in your brain all of the cool things that you can do. You put something like, for example, ice on the ground, then you electrocute it, and then you attack somebody in there or push them into there, and then do a follow-up attack with one of your teammates. These are the type of combinations and strategy that's going to be separating high-level play and, of course, not high-level, but at the same time, the possibilities for how good this game could be just shine. So let's just start with the presentation, then we'll move more into the gameplay and what I thought with it. So the presentation in this game, it's the HD 2D type of vibe, and many people find this type of look to be extremely appealing in the modern era. I've seen so many people talk about how they want to see this game and that game and all these other games kind of go into this HD 2D look, and while that's cool, right? Obviously HD 2D looks amazing. I kind of like the fact that it's its own style with the Octopath Traveler, Project Triangle strategy, like this line of games, and they're not just putting it out everywhere, because if they just put it for every single game that they wanted to do with this HD 2D, the look would get a little bit dull in my opinion. It's like, okay, well, we've seen it before. So the fact that it's with this line of games and they're not consistently using it over and over, to me is a delight. So it doesn't get played out, so we don't always see it. So it's always just fascinating to kind of see a game like this, because we don't get it very often with this HD 2D, and I like that. And the look of the game is just so incredible. It seems like they've even updated things a bit more from what we saw with Octopath when it comes to some of the graphics and the surroundings. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful looking game, so I do like that about it. When it comes to the gameplay and presentation wise, I mean, one of the things that I said why it could be, or it could top Octopath Traveler, or maybe it's already even better than it in some respects, is one of the major flaws with Octopath Traveler for many people out there was a not connected story. Now that was intentional. It's called Octopath Traveler, 8 people traveling, kind of doing their thing. So it was intentional by every single means, where you're just kind of tagging along and then you're kind of completing each one of these stories, right? But in this one, it's all connected. It all kind of ties together, and you have the cohesiveness to where you don't feel as lost if you stop playing for a while. You kind of just go through, and it's going to be a singular adventure with replay value built into it with a cohesive story. So to me, that gets me a bit more excited, because I do like a game like Fire Emblem with nations coming together and warring and decisions. I like something like that more than something like Octopath, which was kind of more open-ended and kind of individualized for each character that you're using in the game. And sometimes if you stop playing for a while, you might forget what's going on, you know? And on top of that, the structure. I mean, for me, you know, when it comes to where I am in my life at this point, I like the fact that it's a little bit more of a guided structure. They have different phases. So you have the before battle phase, exploration, to where you can walk around, you can get items, you can collect information, you can kind of prepare for battle. And then you have the combat phase, where it goes into like the story, or you have like the story phase where you read and like you have like different like cutscenes that play out and all of that. And then you have the battle phase where you're actually in there. And I like that so much more, because it's going to be easier for me to track what's going through. So multiple different things have kind of weighed in why I'm so high on this game. Now there's still some stuff that they can do when it comes to the gameplay, which we'll talk about right now. Kind of getting into that. Picking the characters can sometimes be a little bit of a hassle. It's not quite as snappy as getting onto a character and kind of moving to where you need to go. Sometimes you kind of misclick on there and you don't really know exactly. It's like, okay, well, I got to make sure that I just stop right here, pick the character, then kind of move. It was a little bit weird playing the game at first, because you have to make sure that you position your unit. So as soon as you pick a unit, you pick where you're going to go, and then after you're done attacking or whatever, you have to pick a direction that they're going to face, because somebody could come up behind you and hit you, or come from the side, or whatever the case is, or also do like a pair follow-up attack. So that's also strategic in the way that you do that. But the way that the combat is executed is phenomenal. You have multiple characters on the map that you can use. All those characters have specialties. They all have classes, jobs, and what they can do, and they all have really cool, useful abilities. But what makes this game, to me, really good compared to some of the other strategy games out there, is that no matter what you do with the character, any type of action that you do for that turn, they're always gaining experience, and they can level up on the fly, learn new skills on the fly, and enable those skills right then and there in the match. I was fascinated by how many times that I did an attack, or I moved and I blocked, or I used defense, and they were just gaining XP each time, and then they would level up during the battle, right there during the battle, and I would be able to make use of a new strategy or new tactics with those characters. I mean, at first I didn't know who any of them are and what they can do, but as you go on in the battle, you start realizing, okay, yeah, this is what this character can do, this is what this character can do. Okay, here's my healer, here's my magic person, here's my, you know, defense type of person, here's my buff guy who can sit there and buff everybody on the battlefield. Like, it really is a nice layout. The UI looks good. They can definitely make some tweaks here and there, but the UI looks good so far. The story looks like it's going to be very involved. And one of the things that I like, I mean, the combat is great. great, right? You guys are seeing the gameplay and kind of what's going on, and I can go on and on about how great the combat is in this game. But one of the things that I absolutely love, and I think this is going to be the tipping point for many people, is the decisions in the game. This reminded me of like Mass Effect, Fire Emblem, some of the best RPGs when it comes to decisions and what you do and kind of what can change or not. Like, they felt like there was weight behind these decisions, which you don't play in RPGs a lot. A lot of RPGs are kind of guided experiences. Whatever happens in the game happens in the game with very little consequences here and there. Even like in a game like Fire Emblem, for example, there are decisions that you make that are important, and there are some huge ones later down the line, but a lot of it's just kind of like you just picking whatever, and then maybe you get some like affinity towards another character if you say the right thing. Whereas this seems, with this whole morality system and everything, and this whole triangle way of looking at it 3 different ways, right? That's triangle strategy, right? 3 different ways of unity, morality, and liberty, and making sure that you pick the right one. Like, you are going to have to think for like a hot minute, like, what am I going to do here? And they feel like they have weight, whereas you don't get that in a lot of the other games that we've played so far from this team. Like, you don't get that. A lot of it is a guided experience, and it still is good for those other games, but this one feels like it has the opportunity not only to have crazy amount of replay value, because you can go back and pick different things and see what happens, but also because it's like, man, I really got to make the right choice here. And it did give me those Mass Effect vibes. Like, I need to make the right choice here. And I love that type of gameplay. I love that type of story, and I love it for replay value. I love it because it feels like I really need to make the right choices. This is going to be phenomenal, and it's already looking like it's going to be like one of the best RPGs of 2022, if not the best one. Obviously, there's a lot more that haven't been detailed, but yeah, it's already looking extremely positive for Project Triangle Strategy. So we'll see what happens when this game is released next year, but I love the fact that they gave us a demo to where we can test it out and we can give them feedback in terms of what needs to be changed. So you guys go out there, download the demo, play it. I'm very high on this game. I think it's going to be really good. And I also want to mention the voice acting and the music is very good in the game too, which these games always have good voice acting and music with the Team Asano type of titles. They're always good, but this one in particular is extremely good and fits everything. I love the voice acting and I love the music in the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing the whole game when they do come out with all of it, because it does seem like the soundtrack is going to be phenomenal and all the voice actors really got into their roles. So excited for that as well. So what are you guys' thoughts on Project Triangle Strategy outside of the really weird name? Because I already know you guys are going to talk about that. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go ahead and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.